afternoon, everybody. Thank you for being here. This is our finale session of Chai and Chat. And this is going to be a very interactive session because you, the delegates, are most important. And you'll discuss your feedback with the organizers of IFFI. So on my right is Mr. Shankar Mohan, you all know, Director IFFI. And on his right is Ms. Nirupma Kothru, who's Director Films in the Ministry of Information. Very soon we'll be joined by a representative of the Entertainment Society of Goa. Oh, he's right here. Please come in. Mr. Swapnanil, you're welcome. Director Information and Publicity, Government of Goa. And on the extreme right is Mr. Rajiv Mehrotra, who's going to moderate this very interactive session. So I'll hand it over to him now.
Well, good afternoon and a very warm welcome to this session. I think it's an extremely important session because I think it helps the organizers and people like me who are also associated with the organizing of the festival, albeit from the outside. And as someone who has had, our films have been presented at the Indian Panorama. So I represent that interest from the filmmaker's perspective too, that it's a very valuable and important process of learning because a festival is not just a supply side push of what the organizers want to put out into the world for audiences, but what is it that audiences are looking for in terms of the kinds of films, what has been their experience, what can all of us collectively learn from it, and see that the festival continues to evolve and to become a better festival progressively. So, often occasions such as these become just a sort of a blame game and a complaining game. I think we'd like to look at it constructively. So even as you may articulate a problem, I think it would also be interesting to hear of how you would like to see things that don't work resolved or addressed, and what are the systems and processes that you would like to see in place. I think that would be a truly valuable interaction because we are looking at this as a learning experience. So I think what we'll do is that if you have a question to ask or a point to make, raise your hand, identify yourself, and you'll just have to speak very loudly. I don't know if there are microphones amongst you, but raise your hand and say your piece, but do try and keep it short because we have about an hour, and just stay to the point and make your piece. So is there, who would like to sort of...
Rajiv,
okay.
Can I just, before that, I would thank you, Rajiv, for having given the introductions. But before we get into the Q&A, I would just like to briefly give you a small background about the journey that the festival has taken over the years. So that will give you a whole perspective into where we stand today and how do we move from here onwards. So 2004 was the period when the festival shifted to Goa. But as you will know, before 2004, the festival was a traveling festival. 1 year it was held in Delhi, and then it would subsequently go to the other film producing regions of the country. So at that time, the policymakers in the government, in the Ministry of Information Broadcasting, had a different vision for the festival. The idea at that time was that the festival should reach out to the various industries across India. We have all the film producing regions in Hyderabad, in Chennai, in Trivandrum, Bangalore, Bombay, Calcutta. So it was important that the film culture should come directly into these regions where films were being produced. And in that sense, the festival managed to do a tremendous service to all the film producing regions by simply encouraging these respective cities and their state governments to sponsor their own international film festivals. And there's been a tremendous growth in the number of film festivals that are happening all over India. You have the festival in Bombay, you have the festival in Trivandrum, in Hyderabad, in Bangalore, in Calcutta. And most of these festivals are now government sponsored. And this was the phenomena. This is, in fact, the festival achieved this. The festival managed to create a level of awareness amongst the population, particularly the film population, the passionate film lovers, and also encourage the respective state governments to look into having their own film festivals. So this was a tremendous contribution that this festival has done over the years. Create an awareness of what exactly constitutes good cinema, or the kind of cinema that should be screened, because as you will know, the films that are screened at IFFI are not the films that one gets to see in the theatrical circuits across India. These are those films that one gets to see either at international film festivals or sometimes at film society. In that sense, the Film Society has also done a great service to expand and also to popularize film culture. And that's why we have the open forum every day at the Inox compound, which is organized by the Film Society of India in coordination with the Indian Documentary Producers Association. So both have very valuable contribution to make in the long journey that the festival has taken. So around 2003, again, the government looked into where the festival stood, and it was decided that in continuing to move across these various film producing regions, it would do nothing but compete with the existing festivals in these various cities. And as the mother festival, because called IFFI as the mother festival, it helps spawn a lot of other festivals in the country. In that sense, a decision was taken by the government that it should not move to other regions where it perhaps could compete with other festivals which are based in their own cities, and therefore a decision was taken to have a permanent house for IFFI. And that was a conscious decision taken by the ministry to locate it in Goa in 2004 for the first time. So today is the 10th edition in Goa. And in that sense, it's done a tremendous service to spreading film culture, creating a platform for spreading film culture. Now, that's briefly the background of the International Film Festival of India. I don't know if my colleague, Ms. Nirupama, would like to add to what I'm saying. Okay, I'm handing over the mic to her. Thank you.
Thanks, Shankar. To add to what Shankar has already said, if you look at the strengths of the festival, as Rajiv ji just started by saying, I mean, we have had opinions from people, and I want to hear this from the audience also, that do we still need festivals? I mean, there is some soul searching we do time to time, because after all, if you're putting up such a huge festival, it is a huge challenge in terms of organization. Do we still need it? This is something, a question for all of us. But what I feel is the strength of IFFI is the focus on regional cinema. And this I hear again and again, that it is not for mainstream cinema so much, this festival is important, but it's for the small, beautiful, independent cinema, which really may not see the kind of theatrical release that mainstream cinema does. There, I think a festival like IFFI has continued to play a very important role, because otherwise these really good filmmakers who are just, some of them just beginning out, you must have over the last few days seen a lot of really good films from various languages, be it Marathi, Malayalam, really top-notch directors who are starting out, but they just don't get the distribution channels that they deserve. For them to reach out to the audience, I think the festival plays a very critical role. And secondly, as far as international cinema is concerned, yes, as Shankar was just saying, we do get to see films which may not perhaps be released in India. But then again, I've heard this question that no, now you can watch films on DVD, you can download it. It's not just the films, but it's also, if you remember, I mean, the festival, why do we call it a festival? It's a celebration. It's a whole celebration of cinema. So to have these really eminent people actually coming and sitting here, whether it's Majid Majidi or Atik Rahimi or all our eminent jury members, you've heard of them over the last few days, Claire Denis and Goran, and where else will you actually have these people amongst you sitting and sharing their perspective on their kind of cinema? That doesn't happen on a DVD or, just you download a film, you don't get that experience. Correct me if I'm right, Rajiv. And again, documentary filmmakers, documentaries, as you know, are a very neglected area in India. And, we just don't have film goers going, and there's no theatrical release, almost, none at all. IDP is one of our partners. You've heard them in the open forum. We have a lot of films from documentary side also. So I feel, and I again pose this as a question to all of you, if you feel that if he is going in the right direction, it will strengthen us in our resolve that yes, we are going in the right direction. We must continue to focus on regional cinema. We must give an opportunity to documentary makers to come and showcase their best work. And we must bring to you internationally renowned filmmakers to come and interact in person with you, because that is an experience you can't get on a TV screen or on your computer or your mobile phone. That cannot be matched. Rajiv, would you like to add something?
Well, this is from the filmmaker's perspective, and I think that from the documentary film producers and directors' perspective, it is such a joy for us to look at our films with the quality of projection that has been achieved at this festival. But anyway, I don't think we're going to talk anymore. We're really here to listen, but would you like to say a few words or before we sort of throw this open to the audience? Well, I think he too would like to.
Can I just, again, before I bring Shrapnil in, I must say we've had a wonderful team here with the Goa government. Believe me, every day we regularly interact, and there may be small issues, but really, I must put it on record, we've had very, very good cooperation, and I don't think you can ever say that we've never worked as a team. I think Shrapnil will back me on that.
I would fully back you on that because I'm here at the ground. So Swapnil needs to say that.
First of all, thank you to the Film Festival and DFF colleagues here who have appreciated our joint efforts towards this festival. I think the Goa government has been cooperating with the Ministry of Information Broadcasting for holding this festival successfully. I think last 10 years there have been changes in government, whatever, but we have seen to it that this festival gets all the cooperation from the state government, whatever we can do. Goa government is very interested in continuing with this association also, and I think Minister also Information also assured us that we'll be continuing to be the permanent venue for this festival. I think the CM in his opening ceremony also assured for a permanent venue for this festival. I think next year we would be having at least one or two more venues. One venue is already almost ready, which is at Bamboli, which is a full-fledged indoor venue. I think that could be used for the opening and closing ceremonies next year. And there would be other theatres as well as permanent venues by next year, or at the most one more year. I think with this, I think we should leave it to the audience to have their views on this.
See, this year, 2013-14, by a happy coincidence, we are organizing 3 festivals, not just one. So you just had the very successful International Children's Film Festival in Hyderabad. which again is an endeavor we're really proud of, because children's cinema is something that's truly neglected the world over. There's absolutely no effort by anybody. I mean, India really is one of the forebearers in this, that we make an effort to actually reach out and show children's films to children delegates. So you had more than 1 lakh children as delegates in that festival. Then of course IFFI is fortunately there every year, and we are going to have MIF now, Mumbai International Film Festival, in Jan-Feb. So since we are talking about 2014, so we must remember there we will have only one festival, IFFI. So as you had rightly pointed out, documentaries again must be there in full strength, because next year we will not have MIF. And I would also, as a film lover, also say children's cinema must also be included. So that's something for Shankar to consider. That I don't think this year we did, because we had a very good, by God's grace, a very good film festival in Hyderabad. So children's films and documentaries are truly, I mean, dear to everybody's heart. And a forum like IFFI is really a wonderful place to include all these kinds of cinema. Thanks.
I think there are a few circumscribing issues that we need to keep in mind. One is where I, with deep humility, he's a good friend of mine and I have great admiration for him, disagree, because it's not just to do with documentary films, is that you cannot sustain a festival or documentary films by a supply push, by creating a situation where people have to watch it. There will be resentment and it will actually backfire and people will reject documentaries as being boring. The same principle applies to the organizing of IFFI, is that we have to juxtapose responding to what we feel audiences want to see and what they should see. And that should see is done by the curator, and I must sort of compliment the director of the festival for having got a very good selection of films. I think you're mistaken, sir. Countries don't send their films. We have to go out and beg them to send films to us, and in some cases even pay for those films to come to us. It is a long, laborious process, and I think that one which the festival has achieved with great distinction. And the cornerstone of a festival is the selection of films. I mean, there are several other administrative issues which may hinder or hamper the unfolding of the festival, but that is an unqualified success. Now, added to that, I think when we say towards 2014, is there a consensus on what is the aspiration of the film festival? And if I may just sort of attempt a few of those articulations as practiced with film festivals around the world. Film festivals around the world are primarily intended for film buffs, for film professionals, to engage with each other and to find the opportunity to view the world's best in one space, and to be able to take time off from the everyday engagements of life to sit down and to focus entirely on cinema and the discourse around cinema. So it's like a cinematic retreat, like monks and people go off on retreats because they want to focus intensely on a particular area of their work. So let's, it's not just a festival, it's also a retreat. A film retreat is also a good way of describing a film festival. Now, by its very nature, once you seek to create a film retreat, you locate it in a place that people are comfortable, that people will congregate and people will assemble. And I know that this might sound politically incorrect, but the local communities are not the primary thrust. They are the audience, but that's not the only audience that the festival is seeking to cultivate. So, given that context, I think that the Goa Festival still has some way to go. It's started a wonderful journey and it is progressing. So I think what we need to look at in 2014 is, the halls are filling up. There's no question. There is a huge demand from the local community to watch this. But when this question came up of festivals in other parts of India, those festivals are aimed at local communities primarily. But this festival is geared at an international and national audience to to come together and to imbibe in a retreat context the best of world cinema. And towards that goal in 2014, what are some of the elements? You know, I mean, I think that we're looking collectively for concrete thoughts and ideas that you think will help this festival achieve that goal. So if there are any sort of suggestions here, I think they would be extremely welcome.
Thank you all for being an excellent audience, for coming to Chai and Chat day after day. And we look forward to seeing you next year. Would you like to say something?
Thanks to the Forum of Chai and Chat for giving us an opportunity to give our role and our vision for this festival for the next year. Thank you all.